Megaman Legends was one of my favorite games on the original PlayStation. The gameplay, the humor, the exploration. It was an experience that I go back to time and again. And when I got a Nintendo 64 down the line, I knew about this port and was curious how it turned out. Actually, I was pretty hopeful, to be honest. The Nintendo 64 has more powerful hardware, and besides the audio, I was expecting something along the lines of better visuals and performance. That isn't exactly what we got. Gameplay, I'm happy to say, came out intact. Jumping, shooting, dodging are the primary way of fighting. This is especially important during boss fights where pattern memorization and item and weapon management will be crucial. Though combat in Mega Man 64 is fairly simple, especially since there's a lock-on function, but where this game really shines is the exploration and item gathering. There are plenty of underground ruins to explore and tons of stuff to find, whether it be relics for the museum, upgrades for your X-Buster, or items that Roll could turn into special weapons that will help you in your quest to fight off the bombs. If that's not enough, you can also obtain these items by partaking in side quests. These can range anything from like participating in game shows, helping a little girl walk in the hospital, or helping Jim build up his secret clubhouse. Mega Man movements are somewhat limiting. You would expect a game that takes place in a 3D environment to have like more motion to it. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Keep in mind, this is a game that was in development before the release of the PS1 analog controller. But with that said, I'm surprised that Capcom didn't do some sort of analog functionality for this port of the game. Turning and aiming would have been easier if they incorporated some sort of precise analog functionality. Unfortunately, it seems that Capcom did not take full advantage of the N64's controller, and the analog stick only functions as another D-pad. The only notable inclusion that was not on the PlayStation would be the use of the Rumble Pack. Nonetheless, the button layout is pretty good unless you're coming from the PS1, in which case it'll take some time to get used to, but still the controls are pretty solid. Visuals took something of a hit when this game was ported, which is baffling considering how much more power the N64 had over the PlayStation. Just like most games on the console, the anti-aliasing is a bit much, making the screen look like it was smeared in Vaseline. Geometry and textures pretty much remain the same, so the game still retains that fun semi-cel shaded anime look that was present on the PS1 original. However, for some reason, the N64 fails to retain a constant 30 frames a second that was present on Sony's console. And that's with a closer draw distance. Capcom failed to fully optimize the hardware, though this is probably due to them not being familiar with it. Now, going into this port, I knew sound was going to be affected. Basically, you're taking a game that was 500 megabytes on one console, and then downsizing it to 32 megabytes on another. So these kinds of alterations were expected. But from what I can tell, everyone's voice lines remain the same. From the minor to the major characters, it's all here. However, the quality of the samples definitely took a hit. You can still understand what everyone's saying, though there's some of the quieter lines that sound like mumbles. A subtitle option could have helped here.
Okay, I'm fresh out of ideas. You know, what bothers me most is that while we're sitting here, he's out there digging up all sorts of stuff.
Calm down, Teasel. You're going to burst. He won't lead us to the treasure. No one will, as long as that big door is still locked. All we have to do is make sure we get rid of him before then. Right? So what if he digs up a few scraps here and there? He can keep that garbage. All we're after is whatever's behind the main gate. Right, Teasel?
You know, you're absolutely right. Then that will be our new plan. We'll wait for him to open the main gate. We'll let him keep whatever he finds till then. He'll see. It'll be the Bonds who have the last laugh in this game.
That's right!
Music, believe it or not, sounds pretty good. Despite being on a cartridge, these tracks still retain their upbeat melodies and darker tunes with a little loss in quality. Each song matches the environment that Mega Man's in, whether it's an ominous ruin or a cheery uptown. These songs are as good as I remember them, and the only notable absences would be the sample tracks at the music store in Apple Market and the ending theme, though we're not really missing much. How everything is presented pretty much stayed the same. Cutscenes were done in engine, so that hasn't changed. Though the only issue I have with these, as I mentioned before, would be the voice sample quality. Nonetheless, every scene is here, fully voiced, containing that familiar 90s anime tone that was popular at the time. Transitions from section to section or level to level are much more seamless due to it being on a cartridge. And the same goes for the cutscenes. There isn't a CD that has to be tracked for data. And there you have it, guys. Mega Man 64 for the Nintendo 64. I gotta give this game a B. It's an excellent game with tons of stuff to do. You know, you got your main quest, your side quest, special weapons to find, your Mega Buster to upgrade, ruins to explore, a whole island to do like a lot of things in. Whew. All that in a 32 megabyte cart, which is quite impressive. Granted, the only thing that keeps it from a perfect A would be the visuals and the frame rate, but if you could look past that, this is an excellent port. You could find this game for around $30 loose and around like $80 to $90 complete. So if you plan to get this game, to just be aware of the prices like that. Anyway, this was Knockout 21. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. Like always, have a good one. Take care, you guys.